Hello, welcome to my first lecture about AI and how we should see the risks with AI and how we should also see the opportunities, and to have a nuanced approach when it comes to AI and what it can entail and why it's important for regulation, and also when it comes to ethics, how to use AI in an ethically responsible way. And the main goal for all of this is to combine legal thinking with more ethical, sociological, psychological thinking about AI, so we in the Western world that have an opportunity to regulate this can be a beacon of light to take responsibility for this new emerging and disruptive technologies, so that we as a population can benefit from it, and so opportunities can arise for all of us and opportunities not taken away. Because the risk, as we have today with all these exploding technologies that we try to regulate, is that we can have a new kind of Luddite situation that was something very justified in the early 19th century in England, when artisan labor was taken away by machines, basically weavers and the likes, with machine jobs taken away, that skills that were transformed and traded through generation through guilds and the likes. And we can have the same situation today too. And so the importance is also for democratical aspects, how people's views about society and politics are formed through AI, how environmental impacts are through AI with energy consumption and prompting, and also copyright issues if we can have intellectual property rights of generative AI, for instance, but also other AI transformed and used, and also when it comes to making sure that we have a race to the top instead of a race to the bottom when it comes to geopolitical aspects and jurisdiction, competing for the best talent, the best companies, the best tax revenues, the best tax breaks, and so forth and so on. So and it is such a huge thing, because it is on the same level as nuclear weapons when it comes to try to contain AI, so that we don't have things that can really disrupt societies and make harm and danger for us all. So this will be the on start of a series of lectures, and it will also continue with game development. And can you at all use generative AI for your games? Or what kind of AI, and definitions of AI, and go in deeper philosophically about this and technically about definitions. And also see as a broader scope how small and medium-sized enterprises can use AI as means of production to create new job opportunities, new labor opportunities, and also make their businesses grow and compete on the same level as the big tech corporation. And geopolitics will be a big part of all of it, because if the Western world needs to uphold and defend the human rights established after the Second World War, and try to combat the rising inequality in populations and the likes that threatens our whole social contract in a way. So that as an introduction. That is certain main lines, certain foundations for introductions for the AI Act in the European Union. A huge leadership role and step towards trying to manage this the same way as they managed privacy rights and data rights, and with the general data protection regulation. For ensuring human rights, for ensuring civic rights, and to be both on the market and also as a citizen in general, and that expands all over the globe. So that is the purpose and mission of the European Union, to have this kind of approach, to be a more deeper actor that holds together and makes it deeper and more coherent when it comes to AI in comparison, for instance, for China and the United States. Because otherwise it will be, if we have technological theft and we don't have responsibility about this, we are in for serious trouble in the future between the world powers and all the geopolitical aspects. So none of the trade, none of the positivism that Fukuyama had with end of history in the early 90s will emerge. We're seeing now that maybe it won't, but we have to get back to that trajectory and see how AI can be wealth creation for a lot of people. So we that lives in the Western world that can use our free speech freely, mostly, we have a huge responsibility to think about this and contribute in the debate and make it serious, so we don't have doomsayer style approach to AI and we don't have naive optimism either. We are somewhere in between, so that we can leverage it, because the genie is out of the bottle, and if you don't take responsibility for this, bad actors will, and they will do it regardless. So that is our legal and social and ethical responsibility in all aspects. So now we're gonna go through some early stages and some marathon talks and conclusions and summaries of the AI Act work that has been done in the European Parliament and Council. So, and if we look at this, we have something that are basically something that are supposed to harmonize rules on artificial intelligence. And harmonize rules, that is to make jurisdiction, regardless of kind of constitutional legal framework, the common and civil law system and other legal system in the world, that and also within the European Union, that we have the same kind of approach in different member states. We try to harmonize the rules, and this is very important also for copyright aspects and the rest, because we have global markets, global supply chains, global information systems, connected through the internet, through satellites, through everything. So the attempt to harmonize things are very, very important. And some scholars and some legal persons says that harmonization between jurisdictions could be naive and wouldn't happen. But we have to try. This is particularly true with copyright, because if we have different copyright harmonization, then different jurisdiction will have different rules, and then companies will use that to train an AI in one jurisdiction and take it to another to deploy it there. And so it's very important to have serious harmonization with that. And also this comes with localization for game development and everything else. And also when it comes to risk assessment when you deploy technologies within an organization, regardless if it's healthcare or environmental protection or energy system or whatever have you. So the importance are also to respect the individual's liberty, right to property, fundamental rights as a citizen, as a person that can do free transaction and trade, and also be a democratic citizen and deliberative democracy in whatever, an indirect democracy and everything else. So this is a harmonized way to gather all of it in the same kind of umbrella. So if you have AI that you deploy that is not generative, but some other kind of AI, we have various definitions of this. Everyone needs to deploy under the same umbrella to make sure that it's safe and not create unintended consequences, because it could be as dangerous as nuclear weapons, with chain reactions from AI when it comes to behavior modification, when it comes to trickery and deepfakes, when it comes to energy systems and bad decision making, when it comes to robotics and automation and risks with insurances, who is at fault when it comes to concepts like Colpa and other stuff, who in self-driving cars, who are at fault, and the rest, because digital twins and the metaverse is coming more and more during the fourth industrial revolution. And the real metaverse, where you have factories, logistics, and everything else connected to one another through Internet of Things and the likes, and see the automated systems, who are responsible and why and how. And so, of course, if you have that kind of regulation as I've described, then you can stimulate investment and innovation on AI in Europe. Because if big corporations know the rules of the game, then they can apply, and then they can thrive with wealth creation. And we can create more innovation through smaller businesses that can use the technology to create wealth without stealing intellectual property from someone else. And there's a lot of lawsuits now that I followed over time with the generative AI, but also other types of AI, but especially generative AI, in the data harvesting, the data ingestion, and the data gathering, and the data as traceable, fair use data, if that even exists, and what is the text and data mining directive on how to move forward. So to trace data, to know that data is safe and data can be used, is the most important fact in order to have a good investment in innovation. Because the lawsuits about data will be immense when it comes to unfair competition, perhaps unjust enrichment, and also outright theft. And child labor, algorithm proletarians that are forced to watch hideous things to make a living, and data brokers that sell that data off to other individuals. So this is responsibility for the future, for all our young people and everything else. So that is why I'm doing this and working with this now also. And it will be risk assessment with all of it. And to see data as a natural resource curse or not, and see externalities or not. To see risks, you have to have imagination to see what the unintended consequences will be with AI. And then you have to have a hegemony thinking, you have to have imagination with cause and effect for everything. So it's very important to talk about the risk concept the same as the opportunity concept. And hopefully, if EU is a huge market, we can do as the GDPR, make a global standard, because if trade and business is global, then you want one set of rules, harmonization between common and civil law and other jurisdiction, and localization of your business. So if we take the lead approach and we do authorities that work with this, analyze this, then we can have a lot of innovation also in small and medium-sized businesses. And then we will thrive and maybe have a Silicon Valley, the whole European Union, instead of one small part of the European Union with computer power and the likes. So I've talked also about the main elements when it comes to disinformation, democratic empowerment, and risk to livelihood. When it comes to high impact general purpose AI models that can have an effect on that. And also talked about how it's important with the fundamental rights assessment with AI ethics and containment. And how you contain AI and have regulation of AI, and how you follow up complaints about the misusage of AI, and also burden of proof in a court of law with the misusage of AI, so that you can make the fines that will come into later on in this text, the same as GDPR. So that's very important. Will we have a lot more surveillance in our society to track misuse of AI? Is that something we can live with? Can we have a surveillance society and still keep our fundamental freedoms and rights? Or is that not a comparable viewpoint? Let's not forget that since early to millennium, the World Trade Center catastrophe, 9/11, 2001, The Patriot Act and other acts of terrorists has created a more or less a surveillance apparatus in the whole Western world and other worlds. So, and we don't want a Chinese approach with social credit system and surveillance society, but maybe the surveillance society that already exists needs to have a very thin balance between containment of the technology and to be able to discover misusage of it and burden of proof in court of law when it comes to property theft and bad uses of it. The same way, and also respect to freedoms and rights and not be surveilled. This will be very complex. This will be very hard in the future to see the high risk AI system and have the regulators on such an expert level so that they know what the black box can lead to with AI as the definition. That will require some very expert leaders, and also for the companies in the United States to really understand this. So yes, then let's see the next part. Then we come into let's see, where were we now? We will. Yes, we have the first classification of AI system. That is the next part of this, and the imagination of cost-effect analysis of the AI system is very important for this. To ascertain what's limited risk and what's high risk and what's technical feasible and less burdensome and the likes. And for small and medium businesses, in way to ensure correct competition aspects, that you can actually compete with larger businesses as a small and medium enterprise. So law enforcement, I've talked about this when it comes to Pandora's box, the surveillance society. Will this be misused? Will this be used to target political opponents or not? How do we have checks and balances when it comes to monopoly of violence? That is the law enforcement. And how do we do safeguards to protect fundamental rights so that we have democratic system and not police state development? This will be very important for the panels and the authorities to regulate and see over time. With the CCTV aspects, we have come a long way since we had surveillance cameras in London and the likes on the weekends for hooligans. Now we have a completely different situation to tackle. General purpose AI, the most important part here is that do we have an intellectual property system that will work with people, with businesses, or do we have amalgamations of this that with thievery of the ingestion of data and the data sets being trained? Because there's no point having, and it's very hard with collective licensing and to regulate and everything, and what is fair use and transformative technologies with this and text and data mining. The important part is that we have the technology, and we should maybe not poison the technology as certain people do now with the image poisoning. But what is the way out if it takes away the livelihood of artists, writers, performers and everything? The technology could be classified as unjust enrichment and unfair competition. That needs to be discovered more in court. But the technology is out of the bag, so we need to manage it somehow. And should we have collective licenses or not? And transparency. So this will be important. Transparency. This will be very important in this AI Act going forward. And the tracing and ingestion of data. So look forward to see the AI office to be set up to oversee everything, and to have a panel of experts that really understands this and have the imagination enough to see what the cause and effect system will be. To sit and think about these very complex butterfly effects, phenomenon that will happen with the butterfly effect, that unintended consequences of everything in AI for the people. Penalties will be high, and it will be in the order more as I see them than GDPR, but it will be substantial, with the turnover rate percentages of 7 to 1.5%, depending on the violations incurred on not following the rules in this AI Regulation Act in the EU and the jurisdictions that are concerned with the EU AI framework, of the legal framework. And complaints, this is very important to the market surveillance authorities, because they will have it under that, because it's both a business aspect and a citizen aspect at the same way. So it will be the best authorities are the market surveillance authorities, because they will see, do we have a fair and just market situation, or do we have market failures with market externalities and concentration of powers and monopolies, and then the same authority with those kind of experts can also see the citizen rights and the right to privacy and everything. So it will be connected a lot also to GDPR and the rest kind of risks that we explained here with the summary of this. So, and transparency or protection of fundamental rights, it will be registered in the EU database on these high-risk systems, and not have social credit system with emotion recognition system. Do not track people and their freedom of thought and conscience and behavior and anything else. And this will be very important that we stick to that, because if we don't have severe prohibited aspects in this, in 10-20 years time, we don't know what this technology will lead to when it comes to a society of maybe social credit system. It depends on now how we tackle with the climate change and livelihoods, opportunities, and the economy at large, and good paying jobs and the economy at large. It's very important that we don't go into that track. That is why EU is needed to safeguard human rights and try to work with this, because the former colonial powers have a historical burden to make right to the rest of the world, but not be naive in this to not safeguard what Europe can be as a powerhouse. So we have to do both at the same time, and that's the geopolitical challenge, especially as I said in the earlier of the video about Russia, China, United States and everything else. So we have to stick together and do that. It's very important, regardless of what you think about EU bureaucracy. And it will enter into force now soon, and maybe it could be too late, this 2 years span, but we cannot rush into this either. But we have to use the frameworks that we have, and we have to start. We have to monitor and do everything we can, but we can't make rules either that will hinder innovation and deployment, that will make our jurisdiction, geopolitical strength go away. We have to do both, safeguard human rights and have good geopolitics at the same time. And it will be, and people will follow this, because otherwise companies' reputation will be tarnished, and a lot of fines will be paid, and the fines are high enough so it's not worth it, and the intellectual property debate will go forward with everything and the technologies, and also insurance matters and everything else, and the risk systems, because it will not be worth it to and your business license maybe could be revoked in the future. Let's see what kind of new aspects they will bring to the table with AI legislation. Yes. So this is ongoing, and this will go further, and this is very important. So I will follow this, and I will go now in depth every episode. I will do more in depth when it comes to data, when it comes to class interests and the public interest, and what is fair use or not, and when it comes to copyright and intellectual property, and also societal visions about future with taxes, geographical, economical aspects with taxes on automation and not, and also visions about the future with climate change and industrial development and everything else. So thank you, and videos will be posted not every day, but more or less every day about these topics. Certain videos will be like this. Others will be more finely tuned and explanatory. So this channel will be revived once more. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a nice day. And if we don't have another video before Christmas, then also Merry Christmas. Thank you. Bye-bye.